Hey everyone, Tim Howard from Coastal Preps here for my last preview, which will be football. I know everybody's kind of been waiting for this one. Obviously, the biggest sport of the fall season. So here we go. I'm decided to do a little something different with this one. Instead of going through all 10 teams, I've come up with 8 questions and I've put them all in a bowl. I will pick one out randomly and go over what I think the answer to each of these questions are. So let's get this thing started. First question is, which team will have the greatest win improvement from 2021? I've got 3 teams that I'm kind of on the fence about here. We'll start with the team that didn't win a game in 2021, so I think they could obviously make the biggest jump. If they could win 2 or 3 games, I think that would be obviously a great improvement, and that's the Trask Titans with a new coach over there, Coach Lawrence Ches, coming over from Red Springs. So we'll see what he installs. I haven't been able to get out to practices over there yet, but we'll see what kind of offense and defense he installs. Trask does have some good athletes. Their basketball team's always solid. Baseball team has continued to get better, made a really deep run in the playoffs last year. So there's athletes at Trask. The problem has been getting them out for football. So if Coach Ches can get them out for football and get them believing a little bit, I think their schedule isn't too difficult. So I think Trask could certainly pick up 2 or 3 wins this year, which would be a pretty big win improvement, obviously, from no wins in 2021. Another team that just only had 2 wins last year, but the 2 wins that they had were an improvement upon the year before. That's Ashley, another team that just one winning season in program history, and that dates back to 2021. So a team that's really struggled on hard times, just have not found a coach over there that's kind of been able to turn things around. Dylan Dimick, who's now at New Hanover, was the first coach there. He's still the only coach with that one winning season. So we'll see if Dante Lombardi, who's the new coach, 29 years old, young, enthusiastic, we'll see if he can kind of get that program established a little bit and, to be able to compete with the Hoggard, New Hanovers, and Laney's of the conference. Certainly not going to be easy. I think he understands the challenges that he faces. But like Trask, got to get the players out. Hoggard, Laney, New Hanover, over 100 kids out, on the first day of tryouts. At Ashley, sometimes you're lucky if you have 60 or 70 out. So you've got to improve those numbers there. I think he understands that. And, like I said, young, enthusiastic, that could be kind of the thing that they've been looking for over there. Maybe somebody that can get these kids excited about the program. So 2 wins, I think potentially could get to 4 or 5 this year, maybe. Another 2 or 3 win total improvement. I think that would be good for them. Another team that has had a lot of success previously, struggled with some injuries last year and went 5-6. That's New Hanover. Certainly think Dylan Dimick's one of the best coaches in the area. Has proven that did a solid job at Ashley, went to Hoggard as the offensive coordinator, did tremendous work over there as the offensive coordinator, and is now at New Hanover. So I think he is a great offensive mind. The Wildcats have a really strong defense, a lot of returners on that side of the ball. The only thing I worry about with New Hanover is that really difficult non-conference schedule, New Bern and Butler out of Charlotte. So if they can pick off one of those 2 games, and then you win 5 or 6 games in the conference, plus I think the north side win in the non-conference is a winnable game, so that could get you to 8. So maybe 7 or 8. So those are my 3 teams that I think have the best shot at going 2 or 3 wins above where they were last year. All right, let's move to the next question. This question says, which team will make the deepest playoff run? And to me, this is between 2 teams, the 2 teams that made the deepest playoff runs last year. Pender in 1A, I think Coach Tom Eanes in his second trip back over there to Burgal with his triple option offense, it's perfect for what they've got at Pender. Really good, quick athletes. You can put three or four, at different positions in that option, and just let them go to work. They've got a really good offensive line this year. We'll talk about one of their offensive linemen later with one of the questions that I've got coming up. I think that's a team that could really, make another deep playoff run, get to the East Final like they did last year. They were right there with Tarboro, and Tarborough's a powerhouse in 1A in the state of North Carolina. So, would not surprise me at all to see Pender get back to the East Final, and maybe they can knock off a team like Tarboro or whoever else is there this year. Then we've got Hoggard made the fourth round of the playoffs, I believe, last year. Had a bye in week 1, then beat Corinth Holders, Southview, and then lost to Panther Creek in the playoffs. But that was a game that they were leading. Some questionable calls for those of you that kind of remember that game. There were some questionable calls in that game, so could have gone either way. Panther Creek's quarterback got hurt. They bring in a kid that hadn't really even played quarterback and just run Wildcat stuff, and it worked for him. So, it was a disappointing ending for Hoggard, but still a great season. They do have a lot of new players on offense, but that defense is going to be stout this year. So, if the offense catches up and by the end of the year is performing at close to or right at the same way that the offense last year was performing, would not surprise me at all to see Hoggard win a couple playoff games, make a deep run. So those are my two teams that I think will have the deepest playoff runs this year. Question number 3. I like this question. Which 5 players are worth the price of admission? So to me, there's obviously more than 5 players that I feel like you should go out and watch, but to me, these are the 5 that I kind of came up with that, if I were paying to go see a high school football game, these are kind of the players that I would focus my attention on because I think they're really exciting players. You're going to hear their names called a lot at these games. The first 2 are pretty easy. They were my reigning Coastal Preps Players of the Year. Both were juniors last year and have high expectations for their senior years. Ty Little, the quarterback at Laney, is a 3-year starter now. Dad's the coach. Has run that system probably since he was 5 years old. So he knows that playbook inside and out, and had a terrific season last year. I expect him to just continue to improve. He did lose his best wide receiver in Connor Poe, but there's some talent off that JV team, and Carson Adkins is another returning wide receiver that had a good year last year. So Ty Little, definitely somebody that you want to get out, check out. Probably the top quarterback in the area, and one of the better quarterbacks in the state. The other one, my defensive player of the year from last year, Michael Yingling. Didn't really know a whole lot about Michael coming into the season last year, and he just blew up and was arguably the best defensive player on the best defense in the area. You could argue Jackson King, who's now at NC State, was maybe the anchor of that Hoggard defense from his safety position, but I thought Michael did a really good job of applying pressure to the quarterback, had a ton of sacks, and just seemed to be in the backfield disrupting opponents' offenses all year long. So, certainly look for Michael and the rest of the Hoggard defense to be terrific again this year, but he's the one that kind of stands out for me. If you go, be sure to check out number 19 is what he was last year. Not sure, haven't seen final rosters yet this year to see if he is number 19. I would imagine he'll wear the same number, so if you get the Hoggard game, check out number 19 on the defensive line. Another one, I said I was going to mention an offensive lineman. He also will play defensive line for Pender as well. Mecca Carr Bordeaux, huge kid, just really, big kid, but super fast. I mean, great feet, can really move. Being recruited by a lot of different programs right now, and he's definitely a Division I player. So you'll want to get out and check him out. He'll be in the backfield on defense. He'll be pushing defensive linemen down the field on offense. If you like pancake blocks, be sure to check out Mecca over there at Pender. J.J. Cobb is a wide receiver for West Brunswick. He's also the point guard on the basketball team, and he is a Jet. So he'll be back in punt return situations, kickoff return situations. They like to use him in jet sweeps, wide receiver screens. Anytime number one catches the ball for West Brunswick, you could see a touchdown. He's that quick and elusive. So just a playmaker that's always fun to watch. So if you're in Charlotte, or if you wait till West Brunswick comes up and plays one of your teams, be sure to check out J.J. Cobb. And my last one, wanted to go back to the defensive side of the ball. New Hanover, like I said, has a lot of returning players. There were a couple of players I could have picked on the New Hanover defense. I like David Collins. Gunnar Robinson's another one that easily could have been right here. So maybe I'm cheating a little bit and saying 6 players instead of 5. But David Collins, Gunnar Robinson, 2 just kind of ball hawking linebacker / safety players, and can also come off the edge and get to your quarterback. So two really good players there that I like. So those are kind of my players to watch. Obviously, like I said, plenty of others spread out throughout the conference that are certainly good enough to pay your price of admission to watch. But those would be the ones that I would single out for this question. Here we go. Next question. What is your predicted order of finish in the Mid-Eastern Conference? If you saw a couple weeks ago, I had, on the first day of practice, I had the Mid-Eastern Conference coaches vote in several categories. I also did it, so I figured I would share. I'm not going to share all of what I voted for there, but I will share what I thought was the predicted order of finish. And, I know some coaches will probably take this film and make some clips of it and use it for bulletin board material. No problem with that at all. But this is just kind of what I feel coming into the season, and certainly I've been wrong many times in the past. I had several years ago when West Brunswick had a 10-win season. I think I had them as finishing like second to last coming into that season, and Coach Brett Hickman, I remember him telling me at that time, "We're better than what you think we are, Tim." And I said that's the good thing about this, is you guys get to prove it on the field. So even the teams that I picked down at the bottom of the pecking order here proved me wrong. It can certainly happen, but this is just kind of based on what teams have returning from last year, the information I've received from coaches, and just kind of where I think things will shake out as the year gets on. I think Hoggart's the best team in the league. I think until somebody beats them and knocks them off the pedestal, I think they're the best team in the conference. That being said, I think Laney is closing that gap a little bit, and it would not surprise me at all to see Laney win the conference this year. I'm not picking them to win the conference, but I think it could happen. So I'll go Laney at number 2. Like I said earlier, I think New Hanover has a bounce-back season. Some transfers coming over there. Caleb Robles is a quarterback that's transferred in. We got some injured players from last year that are back, so I think they'll take a step forward. I've got them finishing 3rd. North Brunswick, Brian Davis is doing a great job over there. I think they're the best 3A team, so I think they finish ahead of their counterparts. I've got South Brunswick finishing 5th and West Brunswick finishing 6th. Again, I think that's really close, though, between those 3 teams. So, that could kind of change in any kind of order. But I will go North Brunswick 4th, South Brunswick 5th. South Brunswick's defense is going to be really good. I'm not sure how they replace Danny Parker. That's the question mark I have for South Brunswick on the offensive side. So, if they find some production and find some players to replace that, they could finish ahead of that. West Brunswick, new coach, Caleb Purdue, coming in there. We'll see. He was the defensive coordinator last year. He was kind of a late hire, but having been around the program, I don't think there'll be too much that changes there. So West Brunswick got them finishing 6th. Ashley, I've got finishing 7th. And then Topsail, I've got finishing 8th. Again, 2 new coaches there at both of those schools as well. Just some question marks for me about both of those teams, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So that's kind of where I think teams will shake out, and we'll see at the end of the year how close or far off I am on those predictions. Let's get to the next question. Which running back will rush for the most yards? Now, this is a a tricky question for me because Hoggard and New Hanover will kind of go running back by committee. So, while they may have some of the best running backs in the conference, that's not what this question is asking. It's asking who will rush for the most yards. So, if that's the case, I got to kind of look at some teams that have one featured back that I think will get kind of the majority of the carries, and that would be over at Laney, Jacob Johnson. I think he's going to have a really good season as the starting running back over there at Laney. Tyjair Crudup is a junior at Ashley that I think will have plenty of touches. Could see him have 30-plus carries some games. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Kevon Daniels at West Brunswick ran for over 1,000 yards last year, so he's certainly one in the discussion. But the one I'm going to pick is Kelvin Robinson from Pender. I think he's going to kind of be their focal back in that triple option attack. He had a really good season last year, so I go Kelvin Robinson, but I think any of those four running backs, I think all four may go over 1,000 yards, and so then it's just who has the most games played. Like I said, I think Pender makes a deep playoff run, so I think they probably get 3 or 4 extra games. You get 100 yards each of those games. That's 300 or 400 extra yards that you're getting than the teams that only played 10 or 11 games. So that's why I go Kelvin Robinson from Pender for the most rushing yards in the area. 3 more questions left. Let's see what we've got here. Who are the breakout player of the year candidates? So in the midseason awards, at the midseason, at the middle portion of the season this year, I'll do kind of a midseason offensive player of the year, a midseason defensive player of the year. I'll probably do a midseason coach of the year, and then I'll do a breakout player of the year. So these are kind of some of the names that I think, when we get to that point, maybe on my list of breakout players of the year. Go Brethen Barnhill from New Hanover first. He's a running back that got injured last year, was going to be the starting running back. Played in, I believe, 5 games last year, and then got injured. Didn't have very many carries, only like 40-some carries last year, so expect him to get a lot more carries this year, and, only heard great things about him from Coach Dimmick, so I think he's one of the playmakers that the Wildcats will be looking for to get a bunch of touches this year. Nas Session is a wide receiver for Hoggard that actually saw time on the varsity team last year as a freshman. Don't really see that a whole lot, maybe at the 1A, 2A level, but certainly not at the 4A level. So he'll be kind of that go-to receiver for new starting quarterback Hudson Wilharm. So we'll see how that new connection kind of works out, but I think Nas Session's a kind of a breakout candidate. I think he could be one of the best wide receivers in the Mid-Eastern Conference. Dominic Atkinson Bell is just an athlete at North Brunswick. I think we could see him line up at quarterback. We could see him line up at running back. We could see him line up at wide receiver. He's just an athlete. So Brian Davis will find a way to get the ball in his hands. R.J. Green did so much offensively for them last year. He was split Coastal Preps Player of the Year's honors with Ty Little, and so replacing his production will be difficult. They won't look for one person to do that, but I think Dom Atkinson Bell will be one of the players that they look to kind of fill that void and get them some big yardage. And then we'll go one defensive player. I think Malachi West is a player that I look at, a defensive end for Hoggard. They had some injuries early in the playoffs last year and had to bring Malachi up from the JV team, and he did great. Had 3 tackles for loss and 1.5 sacks in the playoff game against Corinth Holders. Also played really well against Southview. So I think you've got Michael Yingling on one side, who I spoke so highly about earlier in the video. I think teams are going to double team him, not let him kind of beat them, and that should open things up on the other side for Malachi West. So expect Malachi to kind of have that Michael Yingling type breakout season like Michael did last year. So there's 4 players that I think are kind of breakout candidates. There's always people that come out of nowhere that I don't really know or am not familiar with, and by 3 or 4 games into the season, I'm like, wow, this is a really special player. And so there'll be some of those this year, but those are 4 that I think could have some really good seasons. All right, last 2 questions. Here we go. Which defense will force the most turnovers? Um, Again, another kind of tricky question because the more games you play, the more opportunities you're going to have to cause turnovers. I look at non-conference schedules. Hoggard's got a really tough non-conference schedule. Can they force turnovers against Scotland County and Wake Forest? I think they'll cause turnovers in the Mid-Eastern Conference, but are those non-conference games and those playoff games going to be enough to catch a team like Pender, who's got like a Lejeune on their schedule? East Columbus, West Columbus, South Columbus is a little bit down. So I think Pender's probably got the easiest schedule among teams with elite level defenses or solid to elite level defenses. Also think Pender's going to make a deep playoff run. So I'll go Pender. Forcing the most turnovers this season, but Hoggard should be right there. Also, New Hanover. I think they're the three kind of top tier defenses. Like I said, South Brunswick has a lot back too on the defensive end too, so I kind of slide them in there as well. But we'll go Pender for that answer. But wouldn't surprise me at all if Hoggard was the one that ended up with the most as well. Last question. I like this question too. It says, which school has the most spirited student section? So, I've obviously been to plenty of football games over my 16, 17 years of covering high school sports in this area. I'd say it's changed over the years. You would ask me this question 10 or 12 years ago. The easy answer would have been New Hanover, obviously with their Heritage Club. I don't know that New Hanover is the answer anymore. I think, I loved what South Brunswick did last year. I thought their student section was incredible. I thought Laney's student section was really, really good. So I would say those are the top two student sections. I think Ashley, despite not winning many games, they get a pretty good crowd out there for students. Hoggard seems to have themes every week, and so that's pretty cool. But if I'm picking one, I'm probably going South Brunswick. I just think with the number of students in that school compared to the other schools in the conference, I think they get a great turnout of students, and they're super loud, super supportive. So South Brunswick, I'm going to go with you for the most supportive and spirited student section. That's maybe is a challenge for some of your schools. So I hope we see a lot of students at games. Hope we see a lot of fans at games. Get out, support these students, and like always, if you can't make it to a game one week, or you are at a game and want to know what's going on with a different game in the area, you can always follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'll have plenty of stories, photos from as many games as I can get to on a Friday night. And I hope you'll go back and check out some of the previous preview videos if you haven't had a chance to do that yet. We had girls tennis, girls golf, cross country, boys soccer, and volleyball. If you go to the archives tab under the main menu, you'll be able to find those preview videos. So if you're just now getting here, checking out the football video, go back, check those videos out as well. And I hope you'll enjoy those. Looking forward to a great fall season, great football season, and I wish all the teams the best of luck this year. For Tim Hauer, I hope you guys have a great day.